There's a 1071. We're making a detour. Lilith's memory lab.
What's a 1071?
There's been a shooting. Lilith's memory lab. Go.
Inspector, if this is a 1071, shouldn't the nearest police enforcement unit respond?
Look, another team is en route. However, we are the closest, so I would appreciate if you would, I don't know, speed up a little? You are an annoyingly safe driver.
One can never be too safe when behind the wheel. And also, you're an inspector and I am a forensic specialist. Surely we're not qualified to respond to a shooting incident.
If anything, I'm overqualified, and you're along for the ride. Can we get there, please?
And he starts turning the wheel to head towards the location. What if the armed individual is still on the premises?
Then we will apprehend them.
Then I shall take your lead. I don't have much experience with.
Alright, well, Philippa's just keeping an eye for any updates.
Speaking from a hypothetical point of view, could I not be a replicant and you would not know it? Especially if I was an Nexus 6, for example.
Hypothetically, sure. You could be. Would that change your answer?
Have you ever developed a friendship with a replicant?
To the best of my knowledge, I have not. Don't really have time for friends, regardless.
Oh. I, apologize, Inspector. I wasn't aware that you had not reserved time to make.
Oh, it doesn't matter if I reserve it or not. I can try all I want, but it seems I just get dragged right back into work.
And as Peter sees the location, he slowly glides the spinner down to street level.
There's steps leading up to the front of the building. The front door is open inwards, and glass from the door is scattered around both outside and inside reception.
Philippa is going to start walking up the steps, and she will draw her weapon, not knowing what we are expecting.
The reception area is plush red carpet. There's nice paintings on the wall. The door that leads out, there is a reception desk, and the wall behind the reception desk has skull fragments and blood that has run down the wall.
Philippa is taking a look around the reception area to see if there is anybody there who appears to be a threat before continuing on to where there is presumably a body behind the desk.
Peter draws his weapon and starts crouching and sort of backing around and looking around, taking care of where he's placing each foot.
And you see behind the desk there is a woman laying on the ground, and she is very dead. She has a entry wound in her forehead, not directly in the center, but in her forehead, and there is a large amount of blood pooled behind her where you think that there is a exit wound.
It appears we have one deceased over here, Inspector.
My question is, who called the shooting in? Someone else here? Or just walking by and didn't hang around?
You saw the alert, Inspector.
It merely said there was a shooting. It did not give a name for who called it in. Past reception, there's a hallway going left and a hallway going right. Philippa's gonna go look down both sides to see if she sees anybody.
The corridors are empty.
And she also just wants to listen to see if anything can be heard. I mean, clearly no one's here screaming about how there's been a murder, but footsteps, anything.
Just the hum of air conditioning. And Peter.
You want me to head back to the spinner and find out who called this in?
No, it wasn't a... It's not the main priority. It was just... You'd think if somebody called it in, they'd be here. But anyway, we need to clear the building. Could be more victims, could be a shooter somewhere.
Only the air conditioners humming away on the rooftops.
No, I don't hear anything either, but one, the place is pretty big. Someone could be making noise where we can't hear him. And two, another victim probably wouldn't be very loud.
Would we not hear screaming then?
If they were dead, I doubt it.
Point taken, Inspector.
If they were a murderer trying to hide, probably not going to be screaming either.
Hiding within the building doesn't seem the most logical choice, especially if one was to commit murder, unless they were here specifically to retrieve something.
No, it doesn't seem the most logical choice, unless they meant to leave, but didn't before we got here.
Well, what would be worthwhile stealing from a memory lab?
Memories?
No, surely there's other memory labs.
Yes, and?
So, where would you like me, Inspector?
Stick with me. We could clear the building faster if we split up, but I don't want you going off and getting shot. If anyone is still here, we can check down this right hallway first. See if there's anything. Come back when we're done.
Very well. I shall cover your back.
I feel very reassured.
Unoccupied, and there's no bodies and no shooter.
Yeah, and basically, she is not, at this point, searching rooms thoroughly, not looking for clues as to the identity of the shooter or anything. It is, at this point, just look for victims, look for shooter. In an attempt to determine whether the building is still an ongoing crime scene or not. And if we're able to clear all the offices, then she will head back towards the left side of the building.
Entering the large computer laboratory,
Mm-hmm.
you can see that there are 2 technicians dressed in white. One is laying over a gurney with 2 gunshot wounds in their back. There is a second tech against a wall, slumped down with a smear of blood on the wall. They have 3 gunshot wounds in them. And there is a woman in a knee-length skirt, a blouse, a lab coat, and she's only wearing 1 shoe now. The other one is next to her, and she is laying on the ground with a gunshot wound to her neck. All look dead.
Okay. Philippa is again going to ensure there is no active threat in the room before going to check on the victims. And if she does not see anybody that could shoot us, she will go check to see if the victims are alive or not.
They are not. You may give me an observation roll.
Okay.
The woman on the ground, there is a oblong piece of paper that is face down, touching the pool of blood, and you can see her identification card, which says Lilith Taylor. There is also a simple wooden frame. The glass is broken and it is empty. It is sitting on the floor.
And Philippa's going to hold out one of her hands, assuming Peter is somewhere nearby, and say, "Give me one of your gloves."
He looks in his forensics bag and whips out a latex glove.
Which she will put on before turning the paper over. Well, this is familiar.
Inspector leans over the top of Inspector LeBlanc. That's right. It was the photo that was in Leia's apartment.
Yes.
Is this girl just a memory?
Just? As in nothing else? Or...
Peter looks around the lab. Well, one could deduce that the mere fact that these people have been murdered in cold blood, and there's an image of a girl here, certainly there may be some relevance between the memories that they sell and the girl in particular.
if this image came from here or was brought by whoever shot these people. At the moment, I wouldn't hazard a guess.
Well, this photo could be taken of the actual child. However, it could be that this may be a stolen memory.
Stolen?
I can only imagine that the death of a sibling would be quite traumatizing, and if one were to find out that someone else happened to be selling your memories of a sibling,
Leia didn't have any siblings. Unless it's not in her record, but...
But that's not to say that Leia was the assailant here.
I didn't say she was. But this picture was at her apartment. We'd speculated about her having a younger sibling, other family member. She doesn't have any, so if she's connected to this and you speculate somebody was selling a memory of someone else's relative, then either in that case she would be the original relative or a purchaser of the memory.
I am not overly versed with the psychiatric aspect of inserting memories of others into oneself. However, it could be that, as we know, Leia's decline in mental health over the last few months has been, or was, significant enough to be noted in the police records. Perhaps at the time that this memory may have been used by her, and maybe, perhaps, and he holds his finger up. This could be another theory. Was that the assailant that was here, for the same reason, truly wanted to believe, or felt that they believed, that they had a sibling. Hence the same photo.
I can see somebody upset about finding out a memory wasn't real, or at least wasn't real for them. And we've checked this entire side of the building as well, and we're all clear that way. No more.
Mhm.
Okay, cool. But Philippa is going to try and see if she can find what the Tex and or Lilith were working on prior to being shot. If there's anything that looks like it is a work in progress, so she can see what they were doing. See if you can find out what they were working on.
Well, we would be in a memory lab, Inspector. I would assume that one would be working on a memory.
I meant a little more specific than that. And one success.
Just how specific would you like?
I would like to see what they were working on. And Philippa is staring at the deceased Dr. Lilith. She looks a bit like Leia.
That is a little bit perturbing.
I am not quite sure what to make of it, although I have an idea or two.
Yes, well, this is interesting. I've managed to find the girl in the system. She's definitely in here. Yes, her name is April Harper. Except she died about 30 years ago.
Do you know what the context for her being in the system is?
The poor thing has succumbed to cancer.
That is tragic, but does not answer why she's in the system of this memory lab.
I am not sure, but there's definitely a modified file of this girl in the system, and has been set up as a memory.
Modified? How?
Well, the fact that this child had passed away over 30 years ago has the memory leads one to believe that she is still alive. And the memory is not of 30 years ago, the memory is...
Look, if someone were to experience this memory, how would this child be related to them? Can you play it or something? Look, I'm not claiming to be an expert with computers, that's your thing, but is there a way to tell what happens in this memory?
And he brings it up on the screen.
She looks at it.
Could be niece, could be daughter. Definitely close family.
Leia had a picture of this girl. She wouldn't have... If this girl was truly related to her, somehow she died before Leia was even born. It wouldn't make sense for her to have her picture if, well, if this memory was... If she believed this girl was important to her, that would imply she'd had this memory implanted.
Correct.
She told the butterfly salesman that her daughter liked butterflies. Even if it was a false implanted memory, she should know she wouldn't be old enough to have a daughter that age. Wouldn't that sort of break you out of it?
Unless one was to truly believe in such things. I mean, the indication might point to that, certainly, because the books she kept and the butterflies for sure.
If she thought she had a daughter, where did she think her daughter was?
Some people do have figments of their own imagination. It is maybe entirely possible that perhaps this is what happens when one plays with memories that are meant for Nexus models.
If she thought, if she thought she had a daughter and she found out she didn't, I have a hard time believing that even with that she could do this. I didn't know her well, but... Is there anything else you can learn here?
Not unless you want to investigate other memories.
I mean, sure, you could look through other memories, but I don't know how we'd know which ones are relevant.
And I should have known that the picture of the child was probably much older than what we originally thought, given the clothes that she's wearing.
I suppose. I don't know what our next steps are from here. I mean, I know we were looking for Leia anyway, but it seems particularly urgent that we find her if it's possible she had any involvement in this.
I'll investigate the 3 dead.
A couple of squad cars arrive outside and regular police enter. Once they have ascertained your identification, they start to secure the place for the investigation. You find a couple of shell cases which could well be 45s.
Lilith Taylor. I'll just go and do a quick search on our poor departed Lilith here.
I'll join you. There's nothing more I can really do here now that it's been sort of passed off. Not our crime scene.
Peter will go and sit himself in the front seat of the spinner and look up Lilith Taylor.
Philippa will also go to the spinner.
Two successes again.
Nice.
Image comes in from headquarters.
Okay, an image comes in of people in the rain. It's outside the snake pit. There's a lot of people with umbrellas. Is it... It looks like Leia getting in a cab in this picture. I mean... There's not a timestamp on the image, but if we assume it's from the night she went missing, could call the company and see if they remember her. She's gonna call.
Well, she certainly doesn't look like she's in a rush.
Might not have wanted to draw attention.
And the face of a woman in her 60s appears, and she has 2 cigarettes. Metro cab, how can I help you?
Hello, this is Inspector LeBlanc with the LAPD. We're hoping you can help us with a missing persons investigation.
Please hold. And the screen comes back, and it looks like it's the garage area. It's another old lady. She's in her 60s. She says, "My name's Imogen. How can I help you?"
Hello. I am investigating a missing persons case. We have recently found an image of her getting into cab 4A4 from your company.
And she types. You hear the typing. Oh! And a guy shuffles over. Yeah? Talk to the lady. And he looks at you. What about? They're looking for a missing person. Well, I'm not missing. Well, not you.
Look, we have a picture of our missing individual entering cab 4A4. Last night, it would have been sometime after midnight. We do not have an exact time, and she may or may not have been using her actual name.
Outside the snake pit.
Oh, the snake pit. I remember her. She was very nervous. She was with a big bald guy. They paid their fare, and I dropped them off in the old part of the city.
Do you remember where?
Yep. 57th and 23rd.
And did she give a name?
No, she didn't. Yeah, it wasn't. It wasn't a building I dropped them off at. They requested the intersection.
And did they have any sort of a conversation while in your cab?
No, they were dead silent. Didn't say a word.
And is there anything else you can think of? I mean, obviously nervous and not speaking, but other than that, anything odd in their behavior?
No, they were just really quiet. They paid their way, and that was it.
All right, well, thank you for your time. This has been very helpful.
Glad to be of service.
Thank you. And she will disconnect the call. All right, 57th and 23rd.
57th and 23rd.
The area is poor. There are about 20 brick buildings with stained stone and brick exteriors. Years of the city seeping into their foundations. The streetlights seem to do little more than illuminate their misery. There are only a few people around, and some of them are pushing carts filled with junk.
Now the question is where they went from here. And Philippa's just sort of looking around the area to see if anything looks like, oh, they would have gone there, which is not really likely, but she's doing it anyway.
An abandoned building, perhaps?
I feel like there'd be a lot of those around here.
Well, we could ask the locals, perhaps. The tall 6-foot Dials is definitely someone who would be immediately recognizable.
True. Don't know how cooperative people would be, but we can always try.
In this neighborhood, Inspector, I dare say a few chin-yen in the hand would definitely be enough to loosen some tongues.
Possible. Also possible you'll get people saying they saw something when they didn't, if you're offering to pay. Philippa is also looking around for anyone who looks like they would be good to ask questions to.
People really don't want to talk to you. You feel that they're aware that you're police.
Look, why don't you try talking to somebody? I think you would come off a little less intimidating.
Very well. And sees a young man sitting down underneath a tarp, and he kneels down and pulls out some chin-yen and slides it over to him. Here you go, young man. Buy yourself a good, worthy dinner.
Okay. You can give me a manipulation roll, and you can upgrade your lowest die by 1.
10 and 10. Perhaps you can point me into the right direction as to find out where I could search for someone who I'm particularly looking for. 2 successes.
I can't help you. I don't know anything. But he keeps glancing nervously at a 5-story building. It's almost involuntary.
Never mind, sir, but here, feel free to keep the rest of the money. I'm sure it will help buy a bowl of noodles for the night.
And he pulls the coins towards him.
And Peter will stand up from crouching down next to this. I called him a young man, but he's probably quite old, and he'll walk back to Inspector LeBlanc.
Okay.
I do believe I have a location. And he sort of, his head throws off to the direction of a down one of the streets. That 5-story building over there.
All right, let's take a look.
But we'll be walking down towards the 5-story building.
Yep. Gonna check if it's locked at least.
It is not. It's a large double doors that lead inside. Looks like old apartments.
Okay.
Yep.
The interior, the building is creaking and water is dripping from the broken skylight above. The elevator doors are open but does not appear to be working, and the lights are off, and the steel walls that surround the lobby are rusted. The stairs have torn carpet and they lead up. You can see the 5 levels leading up from where you are, and one room appears to have light.
And Philippa is listening to see if anything can be heard.
Maybe faint talking,
Do you hear that?
or maybe music. It's hard to tell from the bottom. It's on like the 4th floor.
Well, it definitely sounds like Oh, someone is upstairs. Shall we go investigate?
Carefully.
After you, Inspector.
Good idea. And she also has her weapon drawn and will begin heading up the stairs, trying to be quiet.
You get outside the door, there's light coming from underneath it, and you can hear faint music.
Is the door locked? Like, just...
Are you
Are you
trying?
trying it?
Trying it slightly? Yeah.
Trying it?
Just slowly.
Okay.
Not like... like...
The handle turns. At this stage, you don't know if there's like a bolt or anything, but the handle turns.
Okay, just apply a little bit of pressure. I'll open it all the way up.
A little bit surprised when the door is suddenly opened all the way.
So as the door starts to open, you hear a door slam from within.
And Peter's ducked down and rolled off to the side. But he's sort of rolled backwards out of the way and drawn his gun, and he's sort of like pointing it at the doorway, which is where you are. So he's the gun's sort of pointed in your direction.
Okay, push it back open. Philippa, with her gun drawn, is going to head over to the back door, considering we heard a door slam, and she assumes that maybe the door in question. And standing to one side of it still, she's going to open it.
And you see it's the fire escape.
She's looking down to see if anybody down makes more sense to her, because up is...
She can hear dunk, 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 dunk.
in that case, start heading down.
As Philippa moves outside, she sees a bald-headed, large individual.
When he does not stop, she's going to try and shoot his leg.
He starts to run as you fire. And you see the round impact his leg, and he falls out of view into the alley.
Okay, she will continue to pursue him into the alley with her gun still drawn.
You come around the corner. As you come around the corner, he is on the ground. He starts firing at you.
Okay, she's gonna duck back around the corner of the alley as he's firing and consider what to do while hoping he runs out of bullets.
And Peter runs up and he's got his back against the wall and he's looking over at Philippa. He's, sorry, I got here as fast as I could.
Fine, he's in there. I shot him in the leg. He's still shooting back. I'm trying to... This hasn't come up before, ever. It's been retire replicants, sure, but that's been the assignment. And in this case, he might know what we need to figure all this out, so I don't just want to shoot him, but I don't know if there's a protocol for this.
Styles, my name is Peter Gunn. I'm a forensic analyst with the LAPD. We're just here to talk.
You're not here to talk. You're here with Philippa LeBlanc. She's a Blade Runner. They don't talk, they retire.
We were actually here to talk until you started shooting. Now I don't know what we're here for. Trying to decide.
We're just expendable machines.
Well, she's still trying to decide.
Look, I have not received any instructions to retire you. That's not why I'm here. I'm not gonna lie and say that's not what I do, but that's not why I'm here. Now, as far as I know, the one assigned to your case is Leia. And it doesn't really seem like she's going to be retiring you anytime soon either. So is there any chance we could just talk?
You can't touch her now. You're too late.
Wasn't trying to hurt her.
What do you mean we're too late, Styles?
Look, we just want to know what's going on. The case we're working has, well, again, it's not got nothing to do with you, but it's not about you. We're supposed to be finding out who killed Leia's partner. Suppose it could have been you. Like to know if it was, but like I said, I've got no instructions to retire you.
Yeah, I did it. I killed him. Case closed.
No, you didn't, Styles.
Oh my goodness. So he was the murderer.
No, he wasn't. Look, if Leia did it, what does it matter if we're too late?
This makes everything nice and neat for you.
I'm not looking for nice and neat. I'm looking for what happened.
Sandor caught me at the club. It got out of control. He got shot. I shot him.
No, you didn't.
What do you mean, no, he didn't?
No, he didn't. What do you mean? What? What do you mean? What do I mean?
He just admitted to it.
Yes, but he's lying.
How can you tell that he's lying?
You mean you can't? He's not very good at it.
Well, he's got obviously a good reason to kill him.
Lots of people had reasons to kill Sandor. Most of them didn't do it, but...
I have to admit, I'm just a forensic analyst. I'm not a field worker, but...
Look, I'm telling you, he's lying.
Why voluntarily admit for something that he didn't do?
Because he's trying to protect Leia, obviously.
Can replicants do such things?
Clearly. I'm gonna ask you again. Can we please just talk? I shot you, you shot me, we're even.
You keep him busy. I'll run around the back.
No, and do what?
And he's taken off. He's also double checking at this time that the light on the back of his blaster is on, because he uses non-lethal rounds.
Like I said, if it's too late, what does it matter if you tell us?
You don't get an answer. Peter gets to the other end of the alley.
Peter will jump out with his pistol drawn.
And you can see Styles up against a large bin, one of the industrial ones. He's sitting with his back against it. He's got the gun in between his legs. He's looking at you, and there's a trail of blood from the end of the alley to where he's sitting, where it is quite large.
Okay, if Philippa's gonna walk into the alley again because she's like, what is this guy doing?
Drop the gun, Styles. Drop the gun.
The gun's already on the ground. Gun. Your name is confusing in this case. Gun's already on the ground. How's he meant to drop it? Could let go of it.
If he makes so much as a twitch.
He does not.
She's walking over to where he is, and then she's gonna bend down to try and see if he is alive.
He is not.
Wasn't trying to kill him.
Crouches to the ground. My heart's beating so fast I can feel it in my throat. Training cannot prepare you for this.
Forgot you don't do this kind of thing. I really wasn't trying to kill him.
I mean, I've seen things, but this is a whole different level.
She's gonna take the gun, throw it to the side, just in case he's somehow faking dead. She doesn't think he is, but why not? And start going through his pockets or something, because at this point we still don't know what's going on, really. Just looking for anything.
I feel like she's going to be gone.
To Hollywood.
Okay, yep, the gun clatters away. He doesn't stop you. He just sort of slumps forward as you sort of touch him.
Okay, she's gonna quickly go through pockets or anything, just looking for anything.
He has nothing. He
Well-
expected you, obviously, because maybe he heard the spinner, but maybe he didn't expect you as in like, oh, they're going to be here sort of thing. It's just when the spinner arrived. So he didn't have tons of time before you went to his place.
Despite what he said, this does not wrap everything up nice and neat, although I suppose the Society for Anthropocentrism will be happy to hear their reports of a rogue Nexus 6 ended in retiring said replicant. We'd best go check out the apartment. I know he said it's too late and Leia's gone, but maybe we can find out what he meant. And she's gonna head back up the fire escape.
Inspector, should we call this in?
Not just yet. We will. I just want to look around first. Alright, well, Philippa's gonna take a... Before getting too bogged down in any details, just take a quick look in all the rooms to make sure no one else is there.
No one else is there.
Okay. Then she will go back to the main room and start looking at the papers on the table. Which... From what I can see on the table with the teapot and the takeout containers is the off-world brochure and the droid magazine is what's on that little table there. And she'll hand the brochure to Peter and say, I guess that could be what he meant by out of reach.
And Peter looks up from the pamphlet and... perhaps so.
No guarantees. Just a thought. Find anything?
I do believe I found the page from the book that was missing from Leia's apartment. With the poem.
With the poem. Not the same poem. Guess a book of poetry, though. Wonder why she'd bring this one.
The magazine of the replicant industry?
Yeah.
Well, $16, that's expensive.
What about it? The magazine, I mean, not the price of it.
Anything in there that's might be relevant?
It's a trade magazine. Probably insulting if you were a replicant.
Mm-hmm.
It definitely talks about them as one would new graphics cards or cars or stuff like that. New improvements, plans for the future. Yeah, basically what you'd get in a PC magazine sort of thing. A mixture of real stuff and some theoretical stuff.
I am, however, confused about that Hollywood card.
It looks like a... I mean, it looks like a postcard, is it?
It is. It is.
Yeah, Philippa's gonna flip it over and look at the back.
There is nothing on it. Like, it's got the address message area. Nothing's filled in. You do know Hollywood does not look like that now.
It's old.
It is not wonderful dream of the future. It's on the outskirts, so nearer the wasteland.
But does the postcard itself, like, seem old? Like, it...
Yeah, it seems a bit older. So you have heard of reports of sometimes being used for smuggling, stuff like that, because it's not like Beverly Hills or anything like that. It's not like it is no longer anything like a choice place to be. It's definitely seen better days compared to...
Well, if she's attempting to be smuggled out, this would be the most logical route off-world.
Why don't we call this in and then go check it out?
And Peter sort of shrugs and holds his sort of two hands up, like, investigate the whole of Hollywood?
No. Ask around. If I wanted to smuggle someone off-world, who could I talk to? That kind of thing.
Guess, based on your success earlier, I'm not sure we're going to get much information from Hollywood.
Well, you can always give it a try. And I could go at it a different way. Crooked cop angle. Want to go outside the law? There's plenty of them. Would hardly be unheard of.
Well, surely there would be some known associates within the LAPD database.
We could have a look.
Peter puts down the pamphlets and then walks downstairs to the spinner, where he's going to retrieve the information about the
known smugglers
the scientist.
Oh, the scientist. Okay.
The memory lab worker lady, and any known criminal enterprising smugglers.
And Philippa's gonna call this in mostly. Basically, she's going to say that in the course of their investigation, they encountered a rogue Nexus 6 who was retired, and the investigation is still ongoing. That's kind of it.
Headquarters confirms we'll send a team to secure the zone.
Thank you.
Okay, so the information on Lilith Taylor has finally come through.
And?
Lilith Taylor isn't actually who she says she is. She's actually Lilith Tyrell. There's a number of things that sort of don't stand out quite correctly with her. There's a few inconsistencies. Like her driver's license, for example, was only ever became valid up until a few years ago. She's very well trained in memory expertise, apparently. But little things like her past history, she essentially doesn't exist prior to a few years ago.
Tyrell. As in Tyrell?
Tyrell?
Are you telling me you've never heard of the Tyrell Corporation?
Oh. I had not put two and two together.
Assumed another identity for some reason?
I guess if she was a family member of the Tyrell Company, why change her name then?
I couldn't begin to guess. Doing something they disapproved of, wanting to prove she could do things on her own without the benefit of her family name. I do not
that would
know.
Probably certainly back up the reasons behind her sort of almost experimental research that she was definitely undertaking in memory augmentation.
Maybe the family didn't approve. Or maybe she thought the only way she could prove herself was to make something better than they could. Can't really ask her now, can we? Think she was using her own memories? If she lost a sister or something.
Or a
that
daughter,
was Harper.
perhaps.
Different name. A friend?
April Harper died 30 years ago.
Could have just been an unrelated memory to her, but... Okay, well, called in Styles, but I'm not going to call this wrapped up, although... We could tell headquarters we've reason to believe Leia killed Sandor and is on the run. I would like to find out more before passing this off. Also, didn't realize, you got any bandages in that forensic kit of yours? I am bleeding in the spinner.
Oh, heavens. Yes, in the glove compartment right there.
She'll open it? Is it like Band-Aids? Or is it, what has he got in the glove compartment?
There's a medical kit in there and a flare gun and and a small portable fire extinguisher.
Okay, she'll pull out the medical kit and see to wrapping up the graze wound with something. To the Hollywood sign.
As you approach, you've left the confines of the city and you can see the darkened, sandy desert beyond. The sign is nowhere near what it used to be, and as you curve around you can see what looks like a hardened patch, which might have been a car park at one point, and there is definite scorch marks on it from vessels that have landed. And as you come to a stop, you can see a female figure sitting on a bench, leaning against what might have been an old bus stop at some time in the past.
Peter will open up the door and step out with his hands at either side.
The air is hot and arid, although it has a very reddy, Martian almost tint to everything.
Okay.
Philippa will get out of the spinner. She does not have her weapon drawn at this point. And she's going to start casually walking over to the bench.
And as you arrive, you see that it is Leia. She is sitting there, leaning against the bus stop. There is blood down the side of her head, where there is a single entry wound. There is a .45 caliber pistol sitting on the sand in front of her feet, and she has a photo that she has grasped in her left hand.
And Philippa's going to check for a pulse and then look at the photograph.
It is a picture of Lilith Tyrell and a child. The child is not Leia, however.
He's right. We were too late.
I am a little bit confused. Why would she have a photo of Lilith Tyrell with her child? I'm assuming a daughter?
I don't know. She's gonna check to see if anything's written on the back of the photo. Nope.
A date a few years ago. Happy memories.
I don't know. I mean, it's easier in a way. I don't know if I could have done it.
But if she was a replicant, would not that be part of your responsibility?
It would. And it shouldn't be different, but it would be. And I'm not sure what that means.
I'm sorry. I have no words of comfort for you, Inspector. Having never had the need to retire a replicant myself, let alone a human, but I'm sure after some time, even the humanity in the things that we create can cause us some conflict. Every living thing can be considered as being sacred to some extent.
I see. Again, it was only a theory, I suppose, we had that Leia was a replicant and not confirmed, although everything seems to point towards it. We should be certain. Well, we'd better call this in as well, although it still doesn't answer everything. I mean, I'm fairly certain Leia shot Sandor, but again, I've got no proof.
It would, in a way, indicate that she was almost getting desperate, but...
If he was about to harm Styles, she might have protected him. Or I suppose it could have been more planned if she wanted to disappear, although that seems rather unlikely. And again, she'll do a quick check of pockets or anything for any kind of anything. She was all packed to leave, so why shoot herself? She could have done that anywhere. Didn't need to come out here.
I guess in a way, maybe without the benefit of fully knowing what she was thinking, the mere thought of being ready to leave was enough for her to...
If she'd realized the kid wasn't real, that could have led to this, but I would have thought she would have realized that before getting here. Thought that might have been why she killed the people at the memory lab when she went trying to find her or find out why the memory was the way it was or something, and when she found out it was a memory of a girl who'd been dead for 30 years, she snapped. But if she knew then, that wouldn't make her kill herself now. You're the analyst, aren't you? Analyze this.
I merely analyze the facts that are laid out before me, and usually
Then
that
analyze the
involves...
facts. We've got
That
some.
involves, Inspector, hard evidence.
Got some.
I am a forensic analyst. I'm not a psychiatric analyst or a profiler.
Well, we're all wearing a lot of hats in the department right now, so maybe step outside your comfort zone a bit. Not the reason why exactly, why here, why now, what changed, what was different when she got here.
The girl in the photo.
How was that different?
If you're asking from my perspective as someone who's not officially trained as a psychiatric assessor, the only thing that I see different in this equation, given the evidence before me, of course, is that the child is probably the key point here. And we could only assume that Lilith Tyrell was murdered by Leia,
Yes.
shot through the throat. And I suspect, in a way, from the empty photo frame that we found on Lilith Tyrell's desk, that this is, in fact, the photo that she may have discovered after performing.
She killed her, but she didn't know she had a daughter.
So she's essentially done to her daughter what Lilith had done to her, except the abandonment that that she had felt was fabricated, as opposed to what she's actually done to a human person with apparently, maybe from her perspective, real feelings. She's taken the life away, the mother of this poor child, and she's become so guilt-ridden that in a place as depressing as this is, the guilt became too overwhelming, and she even if she did escape, she wouldn't have been able to live with herself.
I don't think it's anything else. That's the only thing that really makes sense. I don't think she took a mother away from her child, but I wouldn't say what she had taken away from her wasn't real, exactly.
Well, in her mind's eye, it was real.
Exactly. And memories are strange. If you don't remember something, it's like it never happened. If you do remember something, you might not remember it exactly right, but to you, that's how it happened. And people can remember the same thing different ways and have their own versions, so even the objective truth changes in memories. They're almost a different sort of reality. So if she remembered it, it was real. Sort of.
One can have a terrifying dream and wake up and feel terrified for hours following and not be able to go back to sleep. One can have a joyous dream and wake up feeling enthused about the day. A memory could certainly have a bigger impact, of course. But again, if she was a replicant, which we do strongly suggest that she was, how do you think you could have performed your duty as a Blade Runner?
I already told you I don't know if I could have. It really shouldn't be any different. But it would have been.
And Peter will head back to the spinner and call it in.
Yep, Philippa will as well.
And there is a message.
Headquarters sent an address. We've got to go to Tyrell Tower.
One would assume that they would have been informed of the death of their family member.
I assume so.
I wonder why they went to speak with us.
Couldn't say. Sound like a good thing, though, does it?
All right, after the medic head off to the Tyrell Tower.
So flying through the city, you can see it from quite a ways. It's a large, as in just striking pyramid. See on your spinner navigation unit that you have permission to land.
I will land the spinner.
And it's a very clean garage. There's several spinners there. Some are quite expensive. And there is a woman in a white dress that is quite short. She's very attractive, and she says, "Please come with me."
All right.
Peter will follow at a respectable distance.
Philippa will follow as well.
And you are led through the complex and into a large room. The floor is marble, and a large polished oak table with chairs is the centerpiece. There is a single computer, and on the screen is a picture of Leia. The far door opens. An attractive woman comes in with long dark hair, and you notice that there is an owl on a perch watching you. She walks up. "My name is Ambrosia. Thank you for coming. How did the operation go?"
You'd have to be a little more specific. Operation?
Well, Leia is a part of an experiment, both in terms of replicant control and also their usefulness in law enforcement.
So what exactly are you looking for us to tell you?
There is much to be learned, improvements that can be made.
Might require some improvements. Yep. She killed herself.
That is unfortunate.
It is, isn't it?
We definitely need to work on the replicant's human connection. Definitely the issues began there.
Connections were the issue. She lost someone she thought she had.
Yes, and those connections were meant to ground her.
It's hard to ground someone with something that isn't real.
Everyone views reality differently. In this case, Leia did so in a way that seems unconventional.
Peter's just watching the exchange between the two women, silently, with his hands behind his back.
So like I said, you'd have to be a bit more specific. What is it you want to know?
Where would Leia improve as a law enforcement officer? Or specifically, as a Blade Runner?
Up until she found out she was a replicant, I don't know how she could have improved. She was exceptional at her job, on a fast track for promotion. Anyone would have told you she was one of the best we had.
Interesting. So it was her humanity that let her down.
It was finding out she wasn't who she thought she was. And losing what she thought she'd had.
And she seems to ponder this. So it might be important to make Blade Runners who are replicants aware of what they are.
I'd say that would be a start.
Hmm.
Now, that would be a start, but when she realized she was a replicant, that was only the beginning of her trouble, as that was months before things took a real downward turn. She became depressed when she realized how people would view her if they knew.
Sure, you'll find everything you need within my report, but consider this. Essentially, what you're creating are creations that, in a way, are almost childlike. You have given her a gift, and that gift, having been so important to her, was taken away. And with immature defenses to this situation, this is what has ended as a result. And Peter turns in a little bit of a huff and walks out.
This operation has been approved by those of the highest level. It is
I'm sure it
governed
has.
by the Official Secrets Act. I am to inform you that you are not to discuss the particulars of Leia's origins with anyone.
Of course. Understood. Was there anything else?
No, not at all. You've done very well.
I see. And she will turn and follow Peter.
The Blade Runner RPG is released by Free League Publishing, starring Emily as Philippa, Raven Insane as Peter, and Ghost as the storyteller. Music and sounds provided by Sirenscape and Epidemic Sound. You can find us at Kritfayle.com.
Well, could you find it in your heart to shoot me? I mean, could you...
I'm keeping that somewhere.
Look, I didn't think you hated the job that much.
Given that fact, if I had made friends with you, would you still be able to consider yourself able to shoot oneself? I mean, fuck me.
I would consider myself technically able. I said, what?
To kill yourself? Well, well, you can always ask them to describe a tall man.
He's tall.
I know. Hi, I was hoping you could help us. Can you describe a tall man?
Was he wearing hair or
No.
not?
Was he wearing hair? Oh, yeah, I saw this really tall guy, had a shirt made entirely out of hair. It was pretty crazy. I'll take that money now, thanks.
Then we know he's lying.
Or we don't. Maybe Styles put on a shirt made of hair.
I feel like that would be something that would have been noted in the nightclub.
No, maybe he put it on since.
A man with a hairy shirt.
Okay.
Okay. I'm an analist. I mean,
You're what?